Could be a friend of hers, but maybe we're going to know just in case. I think we have a chance. We'll keep an eye. Welcome to Friday Afternoon at the Manor live with Dr. JJ. And we have a great treat here today. As we already heard, the shakuhachi being played. We'll hear more from our wonderful musician, Debbie Danbrook. But over to Susan Johnson, who will introduce our lovely afternoon speaker. And hello.
Everybody, I'm glad we can make it. On this very day, we're delighted to welcome back Debbie Danbrook, who's going to help us walk through the Spring Labyrinth.
And thank you, Debbie. So as we're thinking about the labyrinth of what we do here, I'm just going to remind everybody that Susan Logie, if you're wanting to walk the labyrinth too, you're allowed to do that. But just remember to take your shoes off if you feel so inclined. And then why don't, Debbie, you start with Labyrinth 101. I think that's very important. I can stop sharing. And 1 second.
Thank you, John Joseph. Thank you, Susan. I have a beautiful page about the labyrinth. I'll just read a little bit from the top. The labyrinth is an ancient, sacred symbol that is found in many different spiritual traditions all around the world. Unlike a maze that confuses us with dead ends, the labyrinth consists of a single winding path that leads into the center and then guides us out again along the same path. The labyrinth is a sacred tool for walking meditation. Walking these paths can help to clear and balance our chakras, invite in healing energy, and connect us to the divine. I also find it's very helpful with the labyrinth to just stand at the beginning and take 3 deep breaths before you step on. Sometimes it's nice to step on with an intention. Perhaps it's a prayer for someone who needs help, or it's a prayer for the world, or it's just a time where you just need to be quiet and be centered. There are also the finger labyrinths. I don't know, can you see this one? You can get them on the internet and do them with your finger. So if you have a finger labyrinth at home, please join us while we're doing the walking labyrinth here. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And welcome, people, Alan. And we have I'm not sure how to say your, maybe I have Pelalua. Okay. Sorry if I say your name incorrectly. Pulelahua. And where are you from, Pulelahua?
Honolulu. Honolulu,
Oh,
Hawaii.
I thought it might be. I had that, even though I didn't know that, I thought that might be, it has that sort of ring to it, definitely. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Wonderful. So I'm just going to call up the PowerPoint presentation. What we're going to do is also talk about the 4 directions, which I think is very important. And we begin. This is a wonderful nukshuk that we have outside of our church. And I'm going to push moving. Bear with me. There we are. And as we honor the 4 directions, let us honor the south, the land of the sun, and the west, the land of the earth and soil, the north, frozen water, and the east, the new day, and the air we breathe. Now, we're at that point of the year, Beltane, that's the midway point between equinox and solstice. And Debbie has a piece that she will walk the labyrinth with, and I'm going to just bear with me and pause and be still. I'm going to stop sharing, and then we're going to hear Debbie and whoever else wants to also walk the labyrinth. I invite you now to experience the labyrinth and the music of Debbie Danbrook.
Charles Hill 2016 or Charles Hill.
So often when we think of the labyrinth and we think of our own lives, we think of the circle of healing that we bring. And now we're inviting people to bring their heavy thoughts. And those who are online and also in person, think of your heavy thoughts that you have been experiencing in the last year, and think of them as a firm stone in your palm of your hand, or the rough rock or the firm pavement that we walk on. And in that moment of time, let's bring our heavy thoughts as we listen to Debbie play music that helps us let go of our heavy moments in our lives. We think of the four elements of earth, water, fire, and wind. And certainly in Toronto in this month, we've experienced all those elements with tulips and daffodils and crocuses and snowdrops and periwinkles all trying to push their way open. We had snow and we've had water and we've had wind. We think of stones, we think of the heart that comes when we heal. And we think of water and the bright, mighty waterfalls that we think of night sky and the moon shining in the deep places. And we think of sand, where growth begins. And we think of water's edge, where water meets land. And we come to the moment of nurturing thoughts. The daffodils are actually blooming right outside as we speak. And we think of people clasping hands. We think of fires when the chilly night. And let us turn to nurturing thoughts that we hope to plant today. And as I was walking the labyrinth right now, a thought came to mind how the labyrinth is planted inside us like a seed. And why that image came to mind, because when you plant a seed, it takes root. And when the labyrinth takes root, you can't put it aside. It calls you and those who connect with it again and again and again. It's like the labyrinth we have today, the labyrinth outside the Eden Center, the labyrinth that we've all walked, the labyrinth that many years ago, I remember Debbie Danbrook brought to a faraway church and had a wonderful healing concert. But let us visualize a glass of water with an empty, and as we, next to the next piece of music, we're invited to water into the bowl and name quietly the nurturing thoughts that we might bring this moment in time. Stop sharing for a second. You transported us to Tirnanock, the fairy realm. Most definitely. And come to the next part. As we think of it through thought for the journey, this is actually an image taken from Newgrange, which is in the center, east coast of Ireland, and is probably about 6,000 years old. It aligns solar alignment with December 21st. And there's these solar alignments all over, not only just Ireland, not only Europe, but all over the world in many respects, of how ancient people were very aware of the sun that rose and the sun that set, and the times of the year, the spring, summer, winter, and fall, also the moon, and we look to the moment that comes. And we think of thought for the journey, and I came across this image of a person dancing, and how there are moments we may not have that type of flexibility, but sometimes we do the old expression, dance as if no one's watching. So we just let go and make it happen, and let it all be free, and walking the labyrinth. We think of walking the labyrinth in the fire, which speaks the sunrise, and the bridges that we walk, and the image of birds of paradise, and the image of the candle. So I'm going to invite you to think now of light right now, the bright light in your lives, walking the labyrinth in the wind. Let's go back to the fire for a second and hold on to that thought and think of what is light for you right now, the light of spring, the light of the new day, the light of when Debbie is playing, and how we experience that great new beginning in our own lives as we walk, as we grow, as we discover what new doors are opening, what new seeds are being planted. And we come to the wind. The wind can be something very inviting and carry a kite quite high. It carries a seed. It helps the birds fly. Wind can also hurt and harm and maim, but we're very aware of the gift of wind and growth and new beginnings. And Debbie, do you have something for the wind for us? All right, okay, I'll stop sharing. Thank you, Debbie. That was very beautiful. It jumped first because that's what it does. Okay, back to where we come to the image of bushes on the seaside blowing and there's light breaking through the sky and companionship. Now, I'm not sure if this is a scene from Happy Feet, but it's sort of a stylized version of Happy. If you remember, Happy Feet is where the one penguin was dancing while the others were singing and thought he was the oddball out. Of course, he saved the day. As much of life as we think we're the odd one out, and we don't realize we have the gift to make a difference in another person's life. And so often. And there's a nice, wonderful piece of photography. Wow, this is Gulliver talking to little people. No, it's a paper boat. But imagine how many people know how to do origami, put your hand up online and in person. So I know how to make one of those boats, but they don't often float that well, but they're quite something, quite something. And but how we're set sail. And that's very much about when we walk the labyrinth and we certainly hear the music, it's inviting us to set sail, sometimes undiscovered country, but sometimes we do have stormy seas, but it's about finding that safe harbor again, is it not? And so thought for the journey, the spring tree serenade, we won't worry about that right now. And so we have time for questions and answers, okay. And so Debbie. There we go, we'll have you. There you go. Okay. See, isn't it wonderful? We didn't have to move either. That's pure perfect. So does anyone in our studio audience or everyone online have a question for Debbie? Just unmute yourself. Of course I can hear.
Alan must have a question. I'm sure Alan has a question.
Right, I'm unmuted. You know what? I have to unmute the whole system. Alan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Now we can. Now we can. Great.
Of course, I've known Debbie for, well, let's see, I guess about 16 years now, and therefore, I guess I don't really have any questions today.
Alan, I was going to say it seems much longer.
Yeah, maybe it has been longer.
I think so. Maybe later.
That's true. I met you first when you were playing at for the Japan-Canada Society in Ottawa. I don't remember what year that was.
It was in the past.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alan is in Ottawa.
Okay.
With students in Ottawa, and over the years I've traveled in so many times and been
Right.
to such beautiful churches. And I was at the opening Labyrinth with Steve Raymond, my partner, playing piano, and Bell's Quarters, official opening for outdoor.
Oh, good.
That
Good.
was an amazing concert.
And what about Pula Lehua? I said that. Pula Lehua. Do you have a question?
Aloha, Debbie. When you're playing music and walking the labyrinth, do you find that it deepens the experience of being in the labyrinth, or does it take you to a outside of the labyrinth place? When I dance in the labyrinth, I find I transcend like beyond where I am into this other place. But when I walk in the, in other words, what is the difference, the experience?
That's a great question, because when I'm playing, I'm not playing pieces, I'm just playing what comes through my heart. So I feel like I'm surrounded by angels and fairies, and so whatever comes through. So when I'm playing in the labyrinth, it does expand that, just because I think we've just invited more spiritual energy. So the difference between playing in a concert setting and playing in the labyrinth, it does deepen it. I love the labyrinth. It's been such a wonderful spiritual companion, a part of my spiritual journey. And every time I'm looking around, that was so fun. Every time I walk the labyrinth, either in silence or when I walk it with a group or I walk it on my own or doing at home, I have many of the bigger labyrinths. But my favorite is to play and walk the labyrinth. So thanks for inviting me and John. It's always such a pleasure and joy. Thank you.
Wonderful. So a question I would have, so when you think of the labyrinth, how do you choose which instrument to use for different parts, or just as the spirit fairies move, so to speak? Yeah.
Well, you were very helpful to me. You made it really clear. So,
Okay.
for example, when we were thinking of, darker, heavier thoughts, I thought the Native American flute brings us grounding. It's so from the trees, and it just feels so earthy. So I thought that would help us with that. And then, of course, when you said wind, this
Yeah.
comes and it very time. So you made me very clear indication. But if not, then I just, whatever feels right at that moment, that's the one that I
Okay.
just pick up and it just starts playing.
Okay, well, that's always quite. Now, Susan, do you have any questions? Okay, do you want to just pass the microphone over to Susan?
I was just going to suggest that not everyone's familiar with the instruments that you're using. You name them, but perhaps give them background on them.
Oh, good, a good plan. Okay, so now we're good. We need to hear shakuhachi and wind chimes.
So, my main instrument that I lived in Japan for 3 years and studied shakuhachi. It's a Japanese bamboo flute traditionally played only by monks as a type of zen. It's an ancient flute, and then little by little it became it played in a secular setting with 2 other Japanese instruments. But until I arrived in Japan and served concerts for a teacher, the women didn't play because it's too difficult. So I'm the first woman to master shakuhachi. The thing I was just so drawn to this flute. I heard it once in a concert in Vancouver. Within a week, I just jumped on a plane and went to Japan. I knew it was my flute. But it has, I just feel that my spiritual journey has been so guided by this flute. And it has helped me so much for physical healing, emotional healing, and then also I play at amazing things around the world. So wherever the flute wants to go, I follow it. So that's my main instrument, and that's the instrument I've been teaching. I taught at UT and I teach privately. And then my favorite ones, and they come from France, and they have parents.
All right.
And then the other fairy stick that I was playing, that long one, I had made for me because it's like a rain stick. Rain sticks can be shorter and they're a little bit more coarser. They have heavier things inside. But whatever's inside that piece of bamboo, the maker never told me, but it sounds so ethereal and so gentle. And it is wind and water. It just feels so nice. So thanks for the question about the instruments.
Thank you. That's wonderful. So as we think of, when's your next big, wonderful something?
Well, interesting. I've been doing so much Zoom, of course, and I'm grateful for it over the last couple of years. But I just officiated at a funeral. It was the first live thing I had done today, and then I have some other things, little things on Zoom. But I'm playing at a concert at Kingston Road United Church on a day in May.
Day in May. Great.
It's on my, if you would like information, just get in touch with me, I can send you.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that's a big church and we will all be distanced.
Right.
So
Okay.
there'll be 5 of us playing, so I would
Good.
like people to come to Kingston Road United Church.
Okay. Well, thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Always good to have you here. And well, so we're going to pass the mic over to Susan Johnson, who will bring us up to date about what's happening next week.
Yeah, it's amazing, and thank you everybody for coming here. I think you can join us next week when we will have cooking with Margarita Padilla. And that sounds fascinating, so looking forward to that. I hope we can all make it.
In preparation for Cinco de Mayo, Margarita prepares wonderful Mexican food. She'll be doing this from her own kitchen, so that way, if she forgot certain spices, she won't have to go too far. So do enjoy the day, and spring is happening in Toronto. The daffodils are testimony, as well as the wonderful tulips are trying to make their way. And I've seen the tulip trees, and a lot of the trees are budding quite vigorously. So enjoy, be well. And if you don't have a labyrinth, make one. Or if you don't know where one is, email me and I'll share that news. Be with you. Namaste. Have a good day.